It's Green Crush time.
Break the law.
That's right, to break the law. Thank you, Paul Flynn. Paul Flynn, MP. From London. Don't you know? That's where he lives anyway. I think he's Welsh. And Paul Flynn is going to be a guest soon, which is very exciting for us because he seems to be one of the only people in government anywhere that makes any sense. Kind of driving me a little bit crazy that there's only one guy and he's by himself and he's in England. Instead of, sitting in the White House or number 10 Downing Street or 24 Sussex, as we like to call it in Canada. We have these freaks. They are freaks. They are definitely taking the facts and the opinions and the will of people, and they're completely misrepresenting it. I mean, I don't know if there's a better definition of the word freaks at all than that. So, okay. Well, here we are now. It's Green Crush episode 12. Thanks for listening to the other 11. We've also just uploaded an interview with a gentleman from England that we did last Friday, a couple of Fridays ago. And it's up. It's called, the show is called Jamie Ike Friday Night, and I was a guest on there talking about all of these things in a way that I can only do when I'm a guest, as opposed to a host or a circus master, which is what I feel like I am more accurately described as, a circus master. I really do. Because so many of the things that are going on, I feel like I am a circus master when I'm talking about these various laws that are coming in. This new legislation of cannabis that's on the way, that's all wrong. It's all wrong, and it's all right around the corner. And I'm happy to have gone from health to near death and back twice because I've learned things that can help other people find this same way out. And getting the word out helps. And so this is Green Crush. And apparently I'm not allowed to mention that I am happy to have had cannabis lead me back here from death. I'm not allowed to mention it. I'm not allowed. This is going to be a bit of a bone of contention with me today, that I'm not allowed to actually mention. Now, I, of course, am mentioning it, and I am allowed to mention it, but I'm talking about that we were very fortunate enough at Green Crush to have somehow attracted the interest of a cannabis industry player. This is a large-scale commercial cannabis producer whose name I won't mention. And let me get a couple of things out of the way. This show is it's an informational blast. I hope it helps you, because everything I say on here is coming from the place of, I've been through this terrible thing and I can help you get through it. So what I'm trying to do here with these informational blasts is to cut through the noise that is the government point of view, the government position, rife with ignoring the facts and ignoring what can be effective in a medical capacity from this plant. So when an LP came to me and said, wow, we really like what you're doing. We really like the way you're talking about these scientific things, such as the awarenesses of Dr. Raphael Meshulam of Israel, who about 50 years ago discovered what THC is and what it does and how it works. And this son of a gun's been working on this stuff ever since. That's his job. He works at it every day. Where is he on an interview? Let's try to get him on this show. He's certainly not on CNN with the facts. He's not on any of those shows that I've seen. But let's get him on this show to hear what a guy who, for about 60 years, has been working on this particular substance. He would probably be okay with me mentioning that I am happy to have had cannabis lead me back to life from death. But this particular LP isn't. Now let me shake down what an LP is. An LP is a licensed producer. Okay, that's who makes cannabis. And a lot of people are critical of licensed producers because a lot of them have gotten into trouble by putting out faulty quality cannabis, such as the kind with mites or different weird spores or some kind of infection or something wrong with it. And then they put out a warning saying, hey, that stuff we made last year that you already got and consumed months ago was no good. So that's who an LP can be. Now, I'm not going to sit here and dump on every single LP. I can't. You can't do it. If you're trying to manufacture cannabis for enough people to use either medically or recreationally, and I contend they are the same, or both, you can't do it with no LPs, especially when you're going to enforce a boneheaded 4 plants per house only rule, which doesn't explain how my 5 grams a day prognosis of what I'm supposed to get leaves me with more plants than that. I need more plants than what the government says, and it's lucky I'm not living with somebody who also needs those plants because we'd have to share those 4. This is the kind of idiocy. Oh, I forgot to wear my tie. I'm going to have to put that on. This is the kind of idiocy that we need to deal with. Making up a bunch of bullshit rules. So I'm not allowed to mention that the cannabis has led me out of the wilderness if I'm dealing with this particular LP who is a purveyor of cannabis. We always have to hit on the symptomatic kind of relief issues. The symptomatic relief issues are so okay to talk about. Never mind how well they manage the symptoms, and never mind how well they can rectify your body to no longer be able to hold the disease. Let me get my tie. I think I need to get my tie here. I couldn't fit all of this in the title anyway, so maybe this is a good time to get my tie. Here we are. We're on Green Crush.
Break the law.
Okay. Now I'm back at it. Now I've got the tie on. I'm all good here. This is good. Okay. I knew there was something a little bit askew there. I need to get the tie on to be serious enough to talk about these serious things. So basically, this LP came out and they said, hey, we like what you're saying. We like where you're going with this. We've researched you. We know what you're talking about. It's okay that you swear once in a while. We'd really like to involve ourselves with you, bringing this kind of word to the folks, having researched you a bunch. And And then I needed to fill out a bunch of paperwork. That's always the way, right? You got to fill out the paperwork. You doing something? Okay, fill out this paperwork first. Are you going to do something? You are? Okay, here's some paperwork. So I filled out the paperwork. In my mind, I filled it out because I sort of knew it wasn't going to go anywhere. And here's where it gets ugly. This particular purveyor, and I hope to see them again, lovely folks. This particular purveyor didn't really research me enough because they take issue with the fact that I say that cannabis can be curing cancer. That cancer can be beat by cannabis. That cannabis can crush cancer. They were a little bit upset that I say that cancer can be crushed by cannabis. But that's the name of the show, which I couldn't get all that in the title. That's the name of the show. It says on the poster, a plant can save your life. It doesn't say a plant will. It doesn't say a plant does. Although it can and it can. If you use it properly. If you spend a bit of time understanding how the thing works. Instead of pretending everything the government says is 100% truth. So basically, these folks no longer want to sponsor the show. They don't want to sponsor us anymore. Back to the old single grindstone. I get it. People are afraid to even say that something might be. How do you grow cannabis with the means of trying to help people out of their physical infirmities and problems? By firmly lodging the caveat into your mind that this shit doesn't really work. And I don't want to hear any more about this curative aspect, okay? What kind of company just sits back and takes that shit? Oh, right, a kind that gets play and money and a voice at the table from the government bunch of criminals who are setting up. This is like the Untouchables, folks. This is exactly the same thing as the Untouchables. So I'm not allowed to have this particular, and there won't be any licensed provider that wants to line me up as some kind of person who talks about this. I'm okay with that. I'll be the lone wolf. Since society tells us we need to have so many of these, I'll be the lone wolf out here telling you that this shit can actually turn your life around. Because we're not supposed to talk about that. I don't know why that is, other than to show folks the saga of not being dead. And I am not standing down to the trauma of these trials. I'm going right through it instead. Because, you know, it's a really good trauma reliever, this cannabis. What to do about trauma? What to do about how the brain perceives everything. That's what trauma is. Your brain goes, how am I going to deal with this series of events? How am I going to deal with this? And then you choose trauma. And when you choose cannabis, you can get through that. Perception itself has always been at the heart of policy. And in this, we are like moths to the spider web. The not really leaders leading the easily led. And damn it, that seems about enough to get it all done into policy acceptance, despite the freedom convalescence. Imagine being told by some body of civic somethings that your remedy for your own death sentence is illegal compared to cutting your brain open with a saw, which they would rather do than accept the fact that not only does cannabis provide symptomatic relief, it renders a body in hospital. I should say that again. This is live. We'll cut that out and put this in. Not only does the cannabis provide symptomatic relief, it renders the body inhospitable to disease. This is the fallacy of curing cancer. He's cured his cancer. He cured it. No, he didn't. People use that word all the time, and I understand it. It's a perception-based thing. I didn't cure the cancer. I rendered the body that had the cancer no longer able to hold on to the cancer. So it lets it go. Like one half of a Velcro. One with hooks, one with smooth. Imagine that. Imagine trying to hook a piece of glass on some Velcro. You can't do it. So that's what I'm trying to do. I don't cure cancer. I don't say that smoking joints can cure your cancer. I never say that. I've never said that. But I've been told I'm saying that, and most recently by an LP who, as they look through all my belongings, never once found my phrase where I say it can cure cancer. I am specific with this. First of all, I don't believe in it as a scientific point of view that you're actually attacking the disease, that there's a war on, that you're trying to blow up the tumor. You're trying to cut it out and burn it out. I'm not trying to do any of that. I'm just saying that this particular application of this cancerous preventing plant, this flattener of disease that's been around forever, can so and does so work effectively. And if you're an LP, don't you want people to think that? But no, you don't want them to think that. You just want them to think it's symptomatic relief, that's all. It doesn't even make sense to me that you'd want to stay in business with just that. Unless you're playing the long game and you just didn't want to talk about it. Smoking joints doesn't cure cancer. I'll tell you why so very little of these laws surrounding this personally matter to me. Here's the reason why I don't really care too much about all of this irritating spider web of laws. It's called 12 weeks of catheter use and cleaning catheter at night, dripping piss bags into the bathroom bathtub. And up until that point, the old personal plumbing wasn't even working at all while I headed into surgery. Green light laser surgery. Oh, you could hear the heavens opening up. I was so looking forward to what was called green light laser surgery because it was supposed to be relatively painless, relatively bloodless, relatively quick healing. And the easy part of my ordeal was lying in bed and counting the minutes between now and my most recent bathroom visit. Mere minutes ago. I know I can stretch this one out to 15 minutes. 15 minutes before I have to rush to the bathroom again in the most unbelievable amount of pain just so I could get a little bit of relief for a couple of minutes again and so forth. So that's why I don't care when the government says, oh, this thing's not really going to be available to you. Because the green light laser was going to be easy. That laser op is so speedy and conducive to recovering. And though I woke up in the recovery room, the nurse was telling me about the green light laser. It didn't work for me. They had to go in old school with the blades and the cutting. So my recovery was going to be longer. The recovery of having my prostate shredded up to the point where the urethra could pass water through it. Going to take longer. Bit of an extra hassle with this. So I've been through a lot of extra hassle with this. And I am not tolerating any governmental bluster to get in the way of that. Because I picked up the habit soon after that, a new obsession, both measuring my piss in both volume and duration and in how often it came out. Don't forget to rinse the hose, rinse the jar, rinse the pipes, hang it up, make sure it's not dripping on the floor. If it is, just make sure it's dripping in the bathtub. These piss bags, of which you need several. Rinse, rinse, rinse. Jobs, 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 I guess. While I pondered how it is that irreversible, aggressive, advanced stage 4 cancer had already metastasized into much of my skeleton. While I was pondering how I actually had reversed that. I mean, I was hanging out bags of piss, but I was reversing the metastases, and my shoulders, collarbone, ribs, knees, hips, sternum, and ankles can vouch for that. While the bones around my ass no longer felt like hammer time. Yeah. Stage 4 gonna die for sure. That's what they say. But I said no to that. I said no to that thing. I said no to death with his hood and his scythe. You can't take me over here at stage 5. So this is where we're at. Green Crush, number 12. I really thought I was only going to do 10 of these things. But I guess I have to do some more, because I find out I haven't gotten done what I wanted to get done just yet. Not yet, anyway. So, it hasn't been made clear yet exactly what it is I'm trying to do. So what is Green Crush? It's cannabis crushing cancer flat. Don't say that or we can't sponsor you. Then I guess you can't sponsor me. It's new, important information, and it's old, suppressed awareness coming towards the light so you don't have to. Facts that when fully understood will crush the alleged laws that illegally prevent my access, your access, cannabis access, can access now, our right, our plant. So getting green crushed at episode 12 is we have cops or truth. We have unblinded me with science. We have what about the children? And since the show aired last week, more people will have to do chemotherapy. We'll have to get some of that done up because it is just what you do. Enter the door of conventional science, chemotherapy. The second one is surgery. The third one is radiation. But Green Crush is here to help reveal the inner workings and reasonable expectations of the very well-hidden door number 4. So please download our earlier episodes because according to feedback, they are very helpful, and I'm glad to know that this information is helping people the way this information has helped me. There must be something to all of this anecdotal evidence. And you need to remember how you found us. You go to Twitter and you dial up at Green Crush Pod. At Green Crush Pod, where the green crush grows. Every time I sing that song, it's terrible. And every time it doesn't have music, it's just awful. But it is where you can find us, Green Crush Pod. This episode, number 12, is the relayed message of completion. The old one, too. I'm just passing the baton to a life beyond a guaranteed death, even if you're not an expert. If you have the inner conflict of disease, it doesn't need to be a war. But you will need to access your inner reserve of strength. This 12th episode means that the lies need to be put to rest. This episode is guilty of being completionist. I heard a guy say that this week. That's just bullshit. That's completionist. Imagine wanting to get something done. Well, I complete being. I am a man who knows that I could be anyone, but I have gone through the fourth door of cannabis to the fifth stage of cancer, which is I still get to live. The very well hidden door number 4. That's where we're coming from right now. Let's see. We have some kind of music here. We have to have some kind of. Oh, here we go. We have several guests coming up soonish, but right now it's just about getting some news done here. So let's go to this. And say that once again we are fortunate enough to be coming to you live at 2:03 EST, and we're always a little bit late. From the cool and festive Pacific Junction Hotel number 234 on King Street East near Sherbourne in Toronto. Come to learn different ways to fight cancer. Stay for the tasty food and drinks. Brought to you by Eggplant Digital Creations. Eggplant Digital Creations, the brainchild of Eggplant Digital. Eggplant Digital. We create digital creations and deliver them to your ear like analog, but based on ones and zeros. See job availability for corporate slogan writer. Corporate slogan writing. Getting the message out to you. Corporate slogan writing brought to you by the fact that so many people believe what they are told without checking things out. Checking things out. When you need to know but don't know and shouldn't not know before taking action. So yeah, we have no guest today. We do have a rant plan in effect today. We do have a lot of information, so we're going to get to it right now. I'm happy to tell you the story of getting divorced from my plans of being involved with a medical cannabis company. They came, they set everything up. They said, this is what we want to do. They knew who I was beforehand. They'd heard what I'd already been saying. They knew what I was all about. They made advances to that effect. This is what it's going to be like. This is how we're going to help you. We're just getting to the paperwork phase of the thing, and they pull out. I seem to have that effect on people, but it's okay. I know why they left. I understand it fully. They can't have me telling the truth. You can't have a guy showing you that not only is your brain fears irrational of cannabis, not only is it irrational, not only is it mathematically and scientifically incorrect, not only is it actually good for you, not only is policy being formed without looking to the facts, not only would it be good for most people to enjoy what's likely to be called democracy and the majority rule, not only would it be good for business. These idiots don't want to go that way. Okay. So there are certain companies out there that say they're doing certain things, and God love them. And we'll see you soon. We're going to be at the Lift Conference at the end of October, Green Crush, talking to you by myself in the corner from the stage doing a show. Away from all the LPs, they'll be laughing at me. Who's that guy? He doesn't have any backing. Oh, that's the guy telling the truth. Oh, okay. We'll keep the money away from him then. Yeah, so that's going to be going on at the end of October. We'll give you the dates later. Also, this Saturday, we are going to be protesting at Queen's Park with Mark Emery, who is putting his voice out there as one who is not at all interested in these ridiculous rules that they do seem to have concocted for us to have to deal with. This cannabis legislation, as they call it, which is filled with holes, filled with mistakes, filled with oppression and repression. And we're trying to do the best we can to stop it right now. So while I pull something up here for you, I'm going to tell you about this cool place that we have here. It's a live studio, and it's every single Tuesday at 2:03. So if you ever want to come down and you ever want to understand some of these things and have a bit of a longer conversation and talk about some of this stuff. That's a cool idea. We should do that. We should definitely do that. And you can do that by getting on the train or the streetcar and getting yourself off at Sherbourne and King Street and come on in. So that's what you can do there. Right now I'm going to move on to a different topic, though, because a lot of this stuff has to do with science, and they won't seem to want to use that for us over here at the show. They don't like us spewing these facts. Obviously, they don't, or they wouldn't be coming up with such a steaming load of things back at Operation Central, back at wherever they dream these things up, these legislations. And this goes for if you're Canadian or American or British or European. I mean, there's a repression going on all over the world. But let's go to
Blinded me with science.
So that's Unblinded Me with Science. Of course, we're using that very famous song because it's Blinded Me with Science. Blinded me with science. Okay, so here comes the science I'm going to blind you with. This is where we want to go. As mentioned last week, our scientist friend Clara Sexton had this to say about cannabis. Quote, in fact, according to the American Cancer Society, properties in weed actually have the potential to combat cancer cells. The enzyme CYP-1B1 was discovered in 2007. That's 10 years ago for those of you following along, by 3 pharmaceutical researchers, Potter, Burke, and Schaefer. Identifying the cancer enzyme enabled them to make a cancer treatment that works. What? Yeah, it works. The treatment for prostate cancer sold for $2 billion. They kept trying to find a treatment for other cancer and found that the phytochemicals of the family salvestrol directly act on 90% of cancers. So yes, it's been proven in a lab that there are plant chemicals that target cancer cells. So that's the American Cancer Society taking 10 years to mention something that I fight to get made across clear every day. And they say it's anecdotal. It's only anecdotal. It's not only anecdotal. It's only anecdotal because you choose to treat it like an anecdote. When you're deliberately sitting on a mother load of anecdotes, you've got to do some research or you're a criminal. You can't just keep hearing about how great something is all the time and don't look into it. So if you're ill right now listening to this show, you might be addressing your imbalance of not enough weed. How about that? You can't ingest salvestrols by smoking cannabis. You have to eat the plant. This is something else I've been saying for a long time. Almost a year now, I've been saying this, and others have said it before me. Almost a year now. Salvestrols. What is that? Is that in the food group? No, it's not in the food group, but it ought to be. Here's a book. Salvestrols, Nature's Defense Against Cancer, Linking Diet and Cancer, written July 2012, or that's when it was released. That's what it's about. It should be on every nightstand, say some of these glowing reviews, very informative, easy to read. Cancer can be defeated. This one gentleman has a sister with ovarian cancer and was interested to learn that it has a particularly high expression of the gene that salvestrols attack. Salvestrols. What does that mean? I don't know, but if you keep making up laws about cannabis without addressing these things, you're a fucking criminal. This is what I'm trying to get to. This is what I'm trying to get at. You can't keep making rules against something that's so friggin' healthy while you're legislating so much harm elsewhere. So if you're anywhere near unhealthy, you could be suffering from a salvestrol deficit. Like a vitamin C or vitamin B12 deficit, you need cannabinoids found in cannabis plants to feed and keep healthy the endocannabinoid system in your body, provided to you by your maker. Those receptors in your body, remember? They're in your body. Why is this so hard to understand? Why do these guys keep getting away with not having our attention span on these facts? Why do you think that is? This is a question I'm asking over and over again on this episode for a particular reason, because I want to hear what you have to say about it. I'm telling you this information because if I keep saying it enough, they're going to pass some laws that make this stuff completely acceptable for all of us. We're going to be having cannabis handed out to us at school. Yeah, not really, no. We're not going to be having that at all. But what I'm trying to make clear is that the science is here to get the point across that these illegalities of making this illegal is what's illegal. Is that too confusing? Connected to the brain for a reason. These maker-provided CB1 and CB2 receptors don't care about your cockeyed sense of morals, about how you think you're such a good Christian, keeping yourself and the interests of others away from the devil's weed. Well, you little piker, you don't want to be played anymore? Once you know that the game's up and that you've been played, it's time to play for keeps. So denying your body's nutritional needs is what's anti-Christian. For disrespecting your God-given body to the point of starving it out of what it needs, all the way down to disease. You got it wrong. You need this substance more than most. My God, you're on the wrong path by shunning it, by believing the government is benevolent by restricting it. Yeah, don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. Just get yourself a nice flower.
You know there's kind of an echo in here.
I do. I've been saying the same thing over and over again, constantly, and it's starting to drive me a little bit batty because when this thing happened with the players today, the players being this company that pulled out, I was a little bit surprised that I was even allowing myself to get sucked in the first place and thinking it might have been a problem solver. It's not. It's definitely not. So when we think about Paul Flynn, who will be coming on the show sometime in the next little bit, October 10th, perhaps even it's next Tuesday. Is that what it is? I'm not sure. But when we talk to Paul, understand this guy is right on the money. He gets it. He gets all these things. I'm going to play a little clip of him right now because he's not one of the facilitators of the law. But this is the kind of thing that Paul has to say to all of us.
I have to say, to those who put up with the barbaric stupidity and cruelty of government policy to act in a way of civil disobedience. We know most of the countries in the world allow this most ancient of medicines, been used for 5,000 years in every continent in the world. It's used for medicinal purposes. Well, I would call on people, and I know we're not supposed to do this as men, but to break the law, to come here and use cannabis.
So that's what Paul says that we should do, but Paul isn't one of the guys setting policy at all. Here is the source of what these facilitators of these laws who really don't know how powerful cannabis is or really don't want to know or really don't want to listen to it by people like me. Or maybe they do know how powerful it is. Maybe these folly fools were handed a series of facts and instead decided to make up these ridiculous claims. So where are all these rules coming from? This tiny thin end of the wedge of people telling us all what we can do. This, well, here it is. The Canadian Centre for Substance Abuse. The Canadian Centre for Substance Abuse has a minister responsible for it, the Minister of Health, while it says it's not a government organization. So I don't know how you have a non-government organization that has a responsible Minister of Health responsible for it. But the Canadian Centre for Substance Abuse is the name of the place that comes up with the rules about what is and what isn't okay about cannabis and how it's all going to come together. These are the people who come up with all of this stuff, these fake laws that ignore the science and the math, okay? So this is what's called the Canadian Centre on Substance Abuse's grant activities. So they've been up to all kinds of things. They are the body of folks that are providing the series of laws that are dreaming up these ridiculous, non-democratic, non-helpful, non-medicinally backed positions of bullshit. Here is the mandate for the Canadian Centre for Substance Abuse. The mandate is to promote increased awareness on matters relating to alcohol and drug abuse. They want increased participation in harm reduction associated with that abuse, promoting use and efficacy of excellent programs relevant to alcohol and drug abuse. So that sounds like an okay thing on the surface when you say that they're promoting increased awareness on matters relating to drug and alcohol abuse. That would be education to me. That would be fully understanding what that topic is. If I wanted to have the Canadian Centre on driving vehicles, I would say it is to promote increased awareness on matters relating to traffic and vehicular operation. But that's not what they're trying to do here. They just want increased participation in harm reduction, and we get to that later. Talking about the myths and misconceptions the Canadian youth are under regarding cannabis use. This is what they're about to do. They are talking about the myths and misconceptions that Canadian youth are under regarding cannabis use, such as, in general, young people have a wide range of opinions about cannabis, some reflecting inaccurate information. For example, some youths have expressed the belief that cannabis can prevent or even cure cancer. Oh, yeah. See, that's at the heart of the Canadian Centre for Substance Abuses. That's their whole thing. That everything about cannabis is bad. That's their whole thing. So when they come up with these ridiculous plans later, these educational plans, this will be indoctrination. Young Canadians think that it can prevent or even cure. Well, I'm not using the word cure, but I am definitely using the word prevent. So we have this board of fools shaping decisions for cops and other troglodytes on the transition board who do not want to allow access to the truth. Not really interested in the truth on this particular topic. You can't control people once they get it together. Once they understand the facts, you're not going to be able to control any of it. So let's turn to some ancient history. Yeah, this is the ancient history of weed. Yeah, that sounded pretty good. I like that one. All right, so the ancient history of weed. Let's go to that now. Okay. So the ancient history is that in 1974, that was the year that a researcher of the Medical College of Virginia was funded by the National Institute of Health to find evidence that cannabis causes damage to the immune system. That's what this researcher was paid to do, and that's what this researcher set out to do. But what they found was the THC slowed the growth of 3 kinds of cancer in mice. Breast cancer, lung cancer, and a virus-induced leukemia were slowed down by THC. So instead of finding bad things, they found good things. This is called the Lewis lung adenocarcinoma growth being retarded by the administration of Delta-9 tetrahydrocannabinol, Delta-8 tetrahydrocannabinol, to the rescue. To the rescue. Okay, so that's definitely a fantastic thing to get a hold of. Delta-9 tetrahydrocannabinol, cannabis, and Delta-8 tetrahydrocannabinol, cannabis. Where do these people stand who would like to be able to deny these things, but then they won't come in here for a chat about it? We've been trying. They don't want to come in. We'll get someone in here. They found that cannabinoid resin extract is used as an effective treatment for all people with a positive Philadelphia chromosome mutation and indication of dose-dependent disease control. They found out that it inhibits lung cancer, cell invasion, and metastasis via intercellular adhesion molecule number 1. They also found, and they concluded, that cannabinoids induce apoptosis of pancreatic tumor cells via endoplasmic reticulum stress-related genes. That's right, I said it. Endoplasmic reticulum stress-related genes. Have you got stress-related genes? Does my bum look too big in these stress-related genes? So that's basically where we're at with these guys. This is the government here. Turn the page on the government. That's what we need to do on these guys. So let me tell you a little bit about where we're at right now with that particular front is we're going on to this legislation again, and I know that if you live in Europe or America, we know your laws are nearly as stupid and written by the same bunch of creeps. I already know that. We get it. You're not the only one that's involved with this gang of fools. You have to wonder, though, where exactly, how do these folks actually get to the point where they're drawing up these kinds of laws when most people don't want those kind of laws? What is that all about anyway? That's all I'm trying to understand. And I'm getting to that. I think I'm getting to that over a period of time. Not on this show. I'm not going to be able to get it all done. But where are these people getting their tiny agenda from? Okay, so people like this. Listen to this guy. Here's the fella trying to bring this legislation up in Ontario. Listen to this.
With municipalities and experts, it would not be sensible to move forward with that today.
Oh, he's talking about edibles. Not sensible, he says.
Even as we work to limit youth access and public use of cannabis, it is important to acknowledge that these efforts won't be successful 100% of the time.
See, the whole premise, this is what I love about these creeps. You can tee this up anywhere, and what he just said there was like, no matter what you tell people about this, we realize we can't get it all done. We're not very good at this. We're not very good at a lot of things, and that's definitely one of them right there. Let's hear that again. Because that kind of blows my mind, actually, that he would say that.
consultation with municipalities and experts,
Yeah.
it would not be sensible to move forward with that today. Even as we work to limit youth access and public use of cannabis, it is important to acknowledge that these efforts won't be successful 100% of the time.
Yeah, I don't know if they should be successful when what you're trying to do is you're trying to block access to something that's actually quite good. Okay, we've already had laws come down for us on this topic by people far more plugged into the law than you are, sir, despite the fact he's the Attorney General of Ontario. But here's some of the problem here. This is from the Financial Post. The medical marijuana producers bristle at Ontario's planned monopoly on recreational sales. It's a planned monopoly. Yeah. Canadian medical marijuana producers are pushing back against the e-commerce plank of Ontario's plan to monopolize recreational cannabis sales in the province, with companies touting potentially lower costs to the taxpayer as part of their claim, campaign, to claim a share of the coming legal retail market. Ontario announced that will use the province's Liquor Control Board to oversee the recreational cannabis market next summer. The province's plan involves setting up a single retailer with approximately 150 brick-and-mortar stores by 2020, as well as an online sales service that will launch by next July. You can't even believe all of the problems of stupidity with the plan, but that's one of them. That's one of them in a time when Colorado has half as many people as Ontario does, and well more than 4 times as many plants, production plants, and ways to sell things that compared to Kathleen Wynne's Ontario. I mean, it's ridiculous. I don't understand why they think they're getting away with it, but they do. Kathleen Wynne just puts up a bunch of stuff. She says that she says nothing about this plan. She's just been going around to factories and carnivals and corn-munching festivals. And Vice magazine has an article, "Everything that is wrong with Ontario's weed plan." Says it's a long list, and it is. A 40-store rollout. First of all, nowhere near enough stores. No weed lounges, taking something that's already out there and getting rid of it because they need the kids to be safe at home. What about those children, huh? They need them to be safe at home where you have to smoke your joints now because you're not allowed to go to a lounge and you have kids at home, so now you have that problem. You're still going to have a black market. You're still going to have a black market. And in fact, I really do think that has so much to do with it. Let's make sure we keep it there. No edibles, because people like those. They want them. But the Canadian Ontario plan is like, hey, let's just not have those for a while. Let's just barely get our act together with 40 stores and try to, deliver that to a few people. But instead, what they're doing is they're just spending money on cops, money on police, money on all kinds of things that doesn't need money. And the thing that I guess is kind of surprising with me is that do you think they will do a good job of this? Do you think they will get a good job? Do you think the government will be able to set a price point on something where they're trying to put something out of business, but not enough to actually make it go out of business because they still need to sell it because everybody else is selling it is no good. So they're going to keep a certain point on this. They're going to keep a certain control over it so that it does sell for a cheap price, but not too cheap to make sure. And they'll be able to manage that all the time. 100%. Then on CBC, it came out with this article. Could the Ontario government actually lose money by selling pot? Well, I figure since Ontario loses its budget like the American military does around losing things, losing incredible amounts of money in Ontario, I think they're going to bugger it up just fine, this whole switching over of plans to go from one to the other. So here's some bad news. Did you get Alzheimer's disease or dementia? Because I think it's safe to say that if you have been drafting much of the Canadian laws in and around the cannabis regulations, you are likely suffering from some kind of dementia. Of course, we can't pin it down on just one broadcast and without specifics, but swerving away from democratic will, swerving away from great business opportunities, while constantly blindly shilling for capitalism and jobs, 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 when you are swerving away from science and the curative nature of an easily obtainable plant. When you are lying and trying to do your best job ever of making cannabis a thing we can all use, but first you need to go to the cops. The folks who still think this substance is bad, except for the ones who smoke it off duty or on duty. If you're one of these people, then you are clearly suffering from dementia, and it is time for you to take yourself and your illness and vacate the seat of legislative powers. We don't need you. Only the dummies are buying it anymore. Only the idiot sings the song that the state knows best. I have just proven that even when they know what is best, they will strive against embracing that. Because with this knowledge, we become ungovernable. Ungovernable. Yeah, man. That's what this works out to. Ungovernable. So let's see what this... Oh, yes, it's time to go to the old U.S. patent number 6630507. Yes, it's U.S. patent number 6630507. Now, remember now, cannabis is illegal because it has no medical value. That's what it does in the Schedule 1 sorting. That's what it does. It sits there in Schedule 1. It means that it's of no value because there's no medical value to it, and yet we're back with this patent. This is an endocannabinoid system in your body. This system in your body, this endocannabinoid system in your body, actually has neuroprotectants involved. Neuro meaning brain, protectants. And it also has antioxidants involved. And so when you get to patent number 663057, well, I've gone to that link now. It's disappeared on me. How about that? All right. 700 medicinal uses of cannabis sorted by disease. Okay. So check that out. That's at encode.org. That's encod.org/info/700 medicinal uses of cannabis. 700 uses of it as a substance. The endocannabinoid system that you have in your body while you make cannabis in your brain. The anandamide. Ananda means bliss in Sanskrit. It's a concentrated juice source of essential nutrients balanced in both omega-3 and omega-6 acids. Juiced, it's an antioxidant and anti-inflammatory. It's a complete protein. This cannabis substance is a complete protein, which is kind of cool because it is something that we try to do at school. They tell us about all of the different things that we need to eat, things that we need to ingest to feel better, and they never mention this particular one. Isn't that funny? They never mention that one. So I don't know why that is, but let's go to ancient weed history. And let's do that again. I like the sound of that one. Ancient weed history. All right. One more time. That was cool. Yeah, that sounds neat. Okay, so ancient weed history. Here we go. Why is this even interesting, right? Why is this even something that you want to even think about? Well, I'll tell you exactly. This buddy guy needs to come out and tell me that this is not true. Okay? I'm gonna put up some background music here, and we'll go out on this because it's basically a bit of a challenge. It's a bit of a threat. It's a bit of something you want to understand because I'm sick and tired of being told some of the things that I am being told. So let's see how we can get this thing going. Okay, so I'm trying to get something on here and it's not working out for some reason. Let's quit that. Okay. Hey, this is the live part of it, right? This is the part that's no good. Okay. That's better. So what we're dealing with here is a series of laws that are being put together by a bunch of people who are choosing to deliberately put aside the positive medical quotient of this substance and only look at some of the aspects of what it is. But this is a substance that saved my life. I've helped other people understand how they can do the same thing. So I'm not really going to get to take some money from an LP. It's going to have to be a different bunch of people who want to help out with this message. It won't be an LP, though, it looks like. But more importantly than that, I'd like to challenge these people, this Kathleen Wynne, this Justin Trudeau, anybody setting down policy. They need to come out and tell me that what I'm saying is not true. They need to come out and say, this guy is lying. And I'm calling out Kathleen Wynne and her finance minister and her health minister and her attorney general, these three clowns. They need to come out and they need to tell me that there's no cancer connection for cannabis. I need to hear this from their faces, not just to be skipped over, because it's absolutely immoral. Talk about the immorality of cancer. It's immoral to draw up a set of punitive laws based around a substance that is so healthful, and you're choosing to keep it hidden. So you tell me, you bastards, you tell the world, you sons of bitches, you can also tell the world why you have not chosen to embrace these facts while dreaming up repressive legislation. Where do you get off stating a bunch of scientific bullshit, making repressive, painful, unfair, criminal laws against said freedoms and health improvements? And then trying to control all of this magical stuff down to the nub. Why claim the health gifts from this property are a myth? This fake shit is not best practices. It is not best evidence, according to the Prime Minister. But look at this. In Czechoslovakia, they found a hemp rope. You believe that? It's 29,000 years old, but it's a hemp rope. 29,600, in fact. 29,600-year-old hemp rope. The Chinese had cannabis put into their pharmacopoeia. That's the book, where it uses it as a medicine. In the 15th century. That's when they put it in. That's right, you're thinking 500 years ago? No. I mean 1500 BC. Hey, are you depressed? In 1621, it was put forth by the English clergyman scholar Robert Burton that cannabis could be used as a treatment for depression. 1621. It's almost 2021. In 1850, the U.S. added it to their pharmacopoeia. In 1889, cannabis, well, the Lancet explained how it could be used for opium withdrawal. This is in 1889. Like 130 years ago almost, about how you could use it to get off opioid. Still at it. We're still at it with this shit. 130 years later, pretending it's not related. Stuff's been sitting here forever. You're just choosing not to talk about it. Okay, this is ancient stuff. And it's been used a lot, and it's been used by all kinds of people, and it's not about to stop being used. And told by people. Listen to this thing. Public possession of equivalent of more than 30 grams of dried cannabis, possession of illicit cannabis, possession of more than 4 non-budding plants or flowering plants, indictable offense, 5 years imprisonment. See you later. I've got that. I've got more than 30 grams. I've got more than an ounce. Oh, my. Public possession of budding, flowering cannabis plants. I don't have that. I don't have that. Distribution of equivalent of more than 30 grams of dried cannabis. Indictable offense, 14 years up to. Distribution of budding, flowering cannabis plants. Indictable offense, up to 14 years. Possession, production, sale, distribution, or import of material used to produce, sell, or distribute. 7 years. Could get up to 7 years in jail for this. And here's my favorite. The unauthorized promotion. An indictable offense, up to 3 years. Give me a lawyer on the phone. Because I'm never not going to promote this. Never not going to promote it. Never not going to promote that, man. 100%. So just before we wrap things up, one more time on Crush. Green Crush. I wanted to tell you this. Another news item. It turns out smoking marijuana may actually make you a safer driver. Oh, don't mention that. The police say something else. The police want to bust people. But on potfacts.ca, it's an amazing study there, authored by Professors D. Mark Anderson, the University of Montana, and Daniel Reese, the University of Colorado, showing that traffic deaths have been reduced in states where medical marijuana is legalized. According to their findings, the use of medical marijuana has caused traffic-related fatalities to fall by nearly 9% in states that have legalized it. So can we get onto some of those facts, please? Can we get onto some of those things? That would be the best. I don't understand why so many people don't want to get to the truth of this matter. But it needs to happen because we are on a race with time at this point. Definitely a race with time. Because they're going to draw up a bunch of ridiculous laws that make no sense whatsoever. And then say, okay, let's see how it works. Let's see how they do. That's not a good plan. You don't do that with a house. You don't do that building a deck. You don't just throw up a bunch of wood. Let's see how it is. We'll fix it later. It's okay. Don't worry. Just hurry up and build it. Just do that. It's ridiculous. People's lives are involved. Their health is involved. Their sickness is involved. So understand that most of the stuff that I'm trying to tell you is, most of it is personally backed up with experience. Of course, I go into tangents once in a while, discussing various aspects of this. But I've been to the other side, man. I've been there and I've come back again, and I can tell you that there's a lot of bullshit here that these folks are... imagine putting a official government provider of cannabis into the place where they can't even discuss whether or not there are cancer-type applications in a curative sense from something that has hundreds and hundreds of studies. Hundreds of studies. Which studies are you talking about? Oh, okay. Maybe that was the problem. Maybe I didn't mention earlier the study that keeps me going every single week. Every single week I think about this particular thing, and I'm going to think about it now while I read it to you, and then we will go out on this. Because this isn't funny anymore to me. This is like, I used to do this as a joke, to talk about this same article over and over again, like it's some kind of ridiculous joke. But instead, it's a fact that these medicines have been sat on for years by, I'm just getting a message now that Saturday there is a rally at 2 till 5 at Queen's Park. That's what I was talking about earlier with Mark Emery, who will be fighting this. Sorry, I've just been digging out this particular article. Says here, cannabis is a medical miracle. It's official, it says. It's official, it says. Isn't that weird that it's official? You would think it's not official, because you never hear stuff like that. It's a wonder drug capable of radically transforming the lives of the very sick, according to clinical results that are no longer anecdotal. It's the real deal. Look this thing up. Sunday, November 4th, 2001, The Guardian. Cannabis, a medical miracle. It's official. And I agree. And I'll be back for more next week.